off tank role, the solo line, and I think it makes a bit more sense that way as well because the other 4 members on that team have been playing together with the other guys for far longer than Judy has been with them. So
yeah, that's
usually
right.
you want the new guy in the solo lane, especially if you're not going to spam the Haka all day.
I think with Crazy Moving coming in, because Judy was put into lots of pressure, because of his hero pool issues, Crazy Moving in coming in and really dividing that role between the two is really helping a lot for Miracle at the moment, and because Dami has the ability to hard carry himself since Tempest days. So I think it's really filling in. Of course, talking about Battleground, we'll be moving into Tomb of the Spider Queen, game number 1 draft. Braxis was banned from Tempest and Infernal Shrines banned from Miracle, which means Warhead Junction is open.
I doubt that Tempest will want to take things to Warhead Junction, whereas for MVP Miracle, they have been okay with picking into that map on various occasions. Even the last time when they played together, they actually played once on Warhead Junction with MVP Miracle running their patented The Lost Vikings against Tempest Abathur, and that match was pretty interesting. Oh, wow.
Morales. Reworked!
Reworked Morales.
No more mana for Morales anymore.
I am looking forward to those grenades from Hides. If anyone can make some insane plays, especially with some of those new talents that really reward you when you use those grenades correctly, I don't know, I'm looking forward to it.
I tried and it was actually very tough. It was actually very tough to get the stacks, to get all the grenades working, especially during the team fight. It's pretty hard. But in pro level, of course, I think it will be different. Let's see what kind of outcome we'll see after second picked Morales. Have not seen that for a long time.
I mean, if we're talking about quick match, then I can remember a few games in which I could sort of spam the grenades with the talent that gives you a second grenade if you hit 2 people at once with it. So, like, if you're in a choke point so that they don't move that well, then you can, like, put out insane DPS but just by spamming grenades. I don't know.
Morales DPS, guys. Yeah, you heard it from Rally.
Yeah, but, like, in competitive play, that's probably not going to happen as often.
Miracle picking up Tastar, Lunara, Tyrael, of course, Vala is taken away from Tempest, and this is the kind of team comp that Miracle really had a painful moment against Mighty when Mighty picked lots of Lunaras, because back then Miracle was the one that was playing on Vala, but because of the ranged advantage that Lunara had, Vala was really suffering. But now they have it on their hands. Will this hurt Tempest? Will it actually hurt Morales? Let's see. I think it's mostly on the hands of the player who's going to be playing Morales. Do you think Hyde will be playing it, or Honkano even?
I guess we would have to see if it's double support or not. I mean, Honkano also alluded last week that he actually might be moving into the main support role if that happens to be a thing, and Hyde suddenly gets really tired of playing support all the time.
And Hyde always wanted to play off support, something else.
So, I mean, it could be a possibility. And I want to pick up on that point you made about MVP Miracle sort of adopting the Lunara after losing so heavily to Mighty with it, because overall, I think over the course of pretty much their entire history, MVP Miracle has, if you want to put it in a good way, very adaptive to what other teams used against them. And if you want to paint it in a negative light, then you would say that, you know, maybe they are swayed too much by what they lose to. That's why their drafts so often mirror MVP Black's drafts, because in the MVP sister team in-house scrims, they always get pummeled by Black. So they get under the impression that whatever Black plays must be really good. That's why sometimes they pull out compositions, heroes that don't necessarily work well for them. And
that's right.
They also do that with other teams as well. So this Lunara might be influenced somewhat by their loss to Mighty last week. We will have to see how the rest of the composition gets formed, of course. But Rehgar ban, interesting.
Well, let's see. That's what you've been saying, as Miracle is more of a follower than a leader, and does not really fit their color. As when we talk about Blossom, they actually they were the followers in phase number 1, and now I think they really, especially with the team house practice, they really found their color. They're trying new things. I think they're leading on their own. I think if Miracle starts to doing that, I think it really started from Crazy moving into something like Tyrael. I think this can be a new start. Let's see if it works out for Miracle. Double support, it is for Tempest. Uther locked in already.
Interesting choice of double support. I mean, a lot of pro players have been saying that the reworked Morales have been looking more like a double support than a solo support, but I didn't expect her to be paired up with Uther, but I guess it makes sense if you think about it from a sustained versus burst healing perspective.
Well, let's see. Even Sonya picked up in the front line. So it's not all it's not hyper carry Vala, of course, as this is Spider Queens. You need that wave clear. You need that zoning also, and control of the map, and ETC was already banned. I wonder what Tempest picks up. If Miracle just takes Johanna away, that's also a possibility. I think they can also do hyper carry Lunara on the other side.
A lot of things could be going in the minds of Miracle right now. Which support do they want to round out the double support is definitely a question. I mean, the most boring one would be Karazim. Oh, it happens, but Stitches, pretty interesting.
As Judy, I think Judy loves to play on Stitches still, and I think that was one of the picks that he wanted to have. And as you called out, the boring one. Not just the boring one, but when you have a hyper carry, I think Karazim comes in super handy. You can still use the palm or 7-sided if the other side is very tanky. And also, you do tons of damage because you act kind of like a melee. You can harass and take aggro's from the other side. So that Lunara will be taking less damage. I think Karazim is a very good support DPS in a way.
Do you like Johanna more or Diablo more in this situation?
I would go for Johanna here.
And I also want to point out that, you know, if we look back at it historically, I know, like, Medic is a different Medic after her rework, but back in the days of TNL, when that team was a thing, Morales on Tomb of the Spider Queen was top tier. It was like tier 1 material, and I could definitely see things going in Tempest's favor if they can manage to do something close to that. And as we both expected, Johanna with the wave clear and the blind. Pretty nice pickup for Tempest to round out their draft.
Yeah, I think they needed the wave clear and also some CC. I think that's a decent pick with all the damage that they can put out at the same time. Sonya will be with the Johanna in the front line doing the damage. Let's see if Miracle has what it takes.
Expecting some crazy leaps out of H82 Sonya if he plays it.
Let's see if we will see lots of leaps. Leaps actually available on both sides, Sonya and Lunara. Let's jump into game number 1. It will be Tomb of the Spider Queen, Tempest versus MVP Miracle. In blue, Tempest. Hide on Uther Honkona on Lieutenant Morales. Lockdown on Vala. Sign on Johanna. H82 on Sonya.
And on the right, we see MVP Miracle with Judy on Tyrael, Dami on Lunara, Jaehyun on Karazim, Crazy Moving on Stitches, and Sniper on Tassar.
Okay, not as how we expected. See moving on Stitches for the very first time. We'll see.
Considering his skill shot accuracy, oh, that was nice.
Lockdown, and it was the perfect target.
Considering his skill shot accuracy back when he was primarily a mage player, I say back when, like it was weeks ago, but it wasn't even weeks ago.
Like 1950, a long time ago.
Yeah, but
when
Crazy Moving has always been good with skill shots and positioning, so, I mean, I could see why he would make for a good Stitches.
We'll see the first one. Landed on the right target, and first one usually tells a lot, you know. Let's see. Well, this is okay. A swap. Seems like they're going in all the way, pressuring into the fort. Maybe just pressing on into the fort, but it's going to be a lot slower for Miracle though.
Not sure if this is the layout of the early game that Miracle envisioned, but so far, not too much of a difference. They won't mind it too much. Both sides just pushing forward with their double support side of the layups, so not too much going on here from both teams.
I think the follow-up behind the Stitches pick as Judy is about to go down, barely survives, is to get the hook. They don't have too much CC available. I think Tasta will just go into force wall and try to have the Gorge to just take one out of Tempest and try to have a 4v5 team fight. I think that's the line of thinking there as we have Stitches here.
Could have been dangerous for Lockdown just a while ago, but Ancano and Hyde together manages to take everyone out safely.
Tasta makes a rotation top setup. This is the weird laning that we're seeing because of so many tools available on both sides for wave clear, and also rotational is very effective. There's nothing like ETC on either side, but ooh, that was close.
MVP Miracle's composition would be much more scarier if they had brought along a follow-up CT to those hooks, because some of those hooks have been landing and they were perfectly in dangerous positions for Tempest, but since there wasn't any follow-up crowd control, didn't really lead to any deaths. That's why the more exciting support pick, as we were trying to say in the draft, would have been something like Malfurion or anything really that brings CC, but unfortunately it was the safe and somewhat boring Karazim, so we're not seeing as much early
Look at Lockdown, just focus firing on target, not even having to move an inch there, just a little bit to get the kill later on. You saw the healing coming out from Morales. Then for Miracle here, Rally, do you focus Morales? As that is the answer, that is the life of Heroes of the Storm.
This is such a
do you focus Morales?
I'm not
do you focus Uther or Vala though?
I'm not going to dignify this question with an answer.
As I'm sure all the Twitch chat is asking for. Focus Morales, Swift Rage.
These hooks have been on point though.
Yes.
If only there had been something like Malfurion, right? These hooks aren't amounting to anything. I mean, they might start to amount to a lot of things once Stitches gets access to Gorge, assuming that he picks it. But before then, probably not. Or Force Wall. A lot of things could happen once they hit 10.
I think with Stitches, unless that happens, I think they really have to wait until that moment to really bring in this power of Stitches. But before, I think Tempest will try to snowball as much as possible before that happens. So we'll see. There was already a first kill coming out from Lockdown. See, this Vala is just untouched. Even when hooked, she's not really scared at all.
I think I need to praise Lockdown's Vala at this point in time here, because if we think back to Phase 1, where DuckDuck was on the roster, where Modern Life was on the roster, and Vala was very much in meta as well, Lockdown, although he was expected to be the Vala player, it was very often DuckDuck on the Vala instead of Lockdown, because Lockdown wasn't that confident on Vala, and especially when he actually got to play it or agreed to play it, he didn't do very well on Vala. But since then, he has transformed into a very consistent Vala player, I would say, and that has to be recognized by such a veteran player. Picking up a new hero like that.
We'll see Lockdown so far with the double support with whoa, nice hooks coming out from Crazy Moving tonight. If when paired after 10, I think there will be kills. But because of such high amount of healing coming out from Morales and Uther whenever the other member is in danger, Morales can just be focusing on Vala this entire game, and Uther can take care of the others. I think that's what you can do with the double support with the Lieutenant Morales, and seeing from Miracle, because there's not much of a threat other than the hooks coming out, because they can't really dive in with Lunara, Tastar. Of course, maybe you can a little bit with Sanctification, but once you back out, there's not there's not a second dash that can happen coming out from Genji from the side or something. So I think Tempest is pretty safe in their back line.
So to sum up what you're saying Morales is OP, right?
When you have a comp like this on the other side, that's the thing. Ooh, Stim Drone.
That's going to be one scary Vala. Or Sonya if you want to get crazy about it, I guess.
Let's see, Miracle is still quite far away from level 10. They're trying to do some damage on the crazy moving, but it's not.
Oh, a spicy grenade.
Maybe it's enough damage. Well, it is now. I thought they needed a lot more damage at the moment. The grenade, of course, helped a lot.
Pretty interesting decision from MVP Miracle, though. They weren't really respecting the level 10 power spike as much as they would have had it not been such a defensive double support composition, I would say. So I think they felt safe about extending a bit further than what they would usually do against the level 10 composition. But unfortunately, you know, Vala packs a lot of crowd control, and with that great nudge from the grenade, it was enough damage to take Stitches down.
We'll see. Okay, of course, leave was even more expected because of Morales on the other side. I think you do need to. Ooh, never mind. It is Archon.
Only Stitches left to select his heroic. No force wall and no seven-sided strike means that hooked targets will have even less value. There still is nothing to really use together with the hook. So
I think Gorge is the last one available. Maybe he will just take Vile and he goes in. It is Vile coming out. 82 is very low in the front line, but Crazy Moving is alone. Archon doing tons of damage. See, again, there was a great hook onto Lockdown, but no pair up, and Judy's the first one to fall.
Oh wow, nice Divine Shield.
Perfectly timed, as Sonya was also trying to dive in. Okay, now with those hooks, if Lockdown was gorged, I think they could have had a comeback there, and Sign now dives in. Let's see how far they can make this push happen. The top where we has been pushing this entire time.
Because this was such an important game for Miracle, and generally they haven't been too bad when it comes to drafting. I was giving them several minutes of doubt at least before criticizing their Stitches pickup, especially without a follow-up CC. Stitches Karazim in the last rotation of the draft. I was assuming that there would be a way to justify it later on in the game once they have access to their heroics, but what we see here is not a very compelling draft. They don't have Gorge, they don't have Force Wall, they don't have seven-sided strike. So what exactly is the Stitches for? They could have picked Johanna and used the blinds to counteract the Vala, right? They could have stayed ahead in the wave clear because the only good tanks with solid wave clear at that point in time was Stitches or Diablo, and both of them are slower than Johanna when it comes to wave clears. So, a lot of things to criticize here in the draft phase from Miracle, but definitely not counting them out yet because Lunara scales better into the late game, arguably. And also, Stitches packs a punch once his talents, his slam talents.
Will do a lot more damage, a lot more poison later on. And I think bringing the slow at 16 will be the big tool. But can they survive until that moment? That's the big key. And Tempest will try to get the keep as they are pushing in. Tyrael still clearing the top lane as it is also pretty pressured. Let's see. Keeping the keep is the real thing. There's a good plan coming up from Lockdown. Focus firing on Vala, but Vala survives for this time, and Palm has to be used on the other side, actually.
This really has to be that moment when you really realize that your draft was problematic, right? That was the perfect hook. That was supposed to be the game-turning hook. And had MVP Miracle picked any one of the three heroics that we mentioned, then that would have been a game changer, right? If they had Gorge, if they had seven-sided strike, if they had Force Wall, I think the cleanse was at least sort of bugged because I think the cleanse landed first, but Vala was still dragged. I have to look at the replay, of course, to check that. But since they didn't have any of those 3 key heroics,
that's what happens, guys, if you do not focus Morales. If you focus Vala, you do not win game.
I mean, you could have even taken Judgment, right? Because so far, Sanctification hasn't been receiving a lot of value, and Lunara immediately falls. Palm was on cooldown.
And which means there's no damage coming out. A Blessed Shield for the chase. There's the CC lockup.
Wow.
Oh, the Poison Spear doing so much damage. Even Crazy Moving may not survive, and he does not. He drops lots and lots of gems. Meanwhile, Tastar does turn in, but it's only going to buy them time.
And I believe we talked about this like last week or something, but the rate at which H82 picked up Sonya is pretty much astounding. He didn't used to play it at all, but so far, once he started playing Sonya, he has been looking like one of the best. Divine Shield is available. Tempest shouldn't be too concerned with this aggression.
Well, let's see. Still, there was not a single good Sanctification coming out from Judy. If they make some focusing, and with a great sync, and especially with the Lunara late game scaling on that poison damage. Let's see how well those hooks land on, and Miracle with the perfect teamwork. I think they still have a chance. They're not done yet, as they still have all the keeps.
They definitely do have a chance, but that chance really becomes a reality once they make it to level 16. They managed to draw out the Stim Drone, but not much more than that. Should mention that they still have access to the keep as well, so overall, MVP Miracle could definitely stall this to level 16, and from then onwards, teamfights will look to be a little bit more balanced.
Now Tempest, after taking all the top wave weaver, this is the last one, of course, they have to take care of. But meanwhile, what's the choice the Miracle is going to make? They're making the top rotation. Maybe they're trying to take down the top 4 as they are behind in level. They have to get some structural EXP right now. Ooh, they couldn't even do that, and they just wasted time by going up there.
MVP Miracle don't have that much to do right now because they already took their bruiser camp. They don't have enough gems. Only thing they have to do is to stall the turn-ins from Tempest, and if Tempest wants to do this slowly, then they could just take the bruiser camp first, or they could just try to turn it in the gems, and that's what exactly they do. I'm not sure if MVP Miracle was that enthusiastic about trying to delay the turn-ins because they were grouped as a group of 5 with no vision whatsoever on the top shrine, right?
Lots of questionable decisions coming out from Miracle, especially after this draft. I think they've really fallen into the trap. Last time they were trying to focus one target, and they used basically every single source of damage onto Vala and could not even draw out Divine Shield at the end, I think. It actually came maybe at the very end, but that was the only source of tool that Tempest had to use. All Morales had to do was to use Q and heal Vala. And use Cleanse, of course.
This keep is definitely going to fall. That was for sure the moment they got the turn-in. The problem is, can they defend the bottom keep?
That's
now,
the first keep.
16 was the magic level we were starting to talk about. Of course, it gets much, much better at level 20, but now they can hope to take a fight on equal footing.
Well, let's see the hooks.
Close.
Not this time, man. They need more tools, I think. Not just the Holy Ground, they need a lot more to get the kill after the hooked. As we mentioned all this game, there's no pair up to the hook. So they're not actually afraid to dive in, as Vala doing tons of damage to the keep.
Hook is off cooldown again. Looking for the next one.
Sign is going in a little more. There's a Holy Ground. Lockdown doing tons of damage onto Crazy Moving alone from the side. We're going to go fully engaged. Hyde is actually slowed and very damaged, but Morales healing.
Oh wow, that was a nice hook.
Clutch hook, but Sign actually wants to turn this around. Great sand coming out from Judy. This is the chase they want to make. Dami doing tons of damage. Johanna's first one to fall, and can they make it happen? Sonya is delaying some time here as Lockdown seems like he will get cut off.
Judy dies to a really nice wave of light from
That
Uther.
grenade did so much damage onto Jaehyun. Can he survive with another dash possibly incoming very soon? There it is.
MVP Miracle won't be too sad about this fight, though. They got 2 heroes down for 1. They also managed to keep the bottom keep, so exactly what they wanted to do.
Did he have movement on the palm? Or I guess he was just a little far away from Tyrael to actually have the palm. We'll have to take a... I'll have to go back and watch the VOD on that, but that was a great source of diving in coming out from Miracle. That sanctification was the best so far coming out from Judy.
It was perfectly
Even that
placed,
was
to be
not
sure.
enough.
Mhm.
Even that was not enough to chase the entire members of Tempest. But this is a start. This is a start. A keep down, but still can make a very good comeback. Tempest will be hitting 20 very soon. So Miracle, this is probably the last chance they are looking for. They want to push as max as possible. Possibly even try to get picks before Tempest hit 20.
I'm sort of curious why MVP Miracle thought that they shouldn't take the Bruiser camp as well as the turn-ins. Generally, that's what you try to do at the same time, especially when the entire goal of this turn-in is to just get as close to level 20 as possible. Tempest has access to their level 20 heroes, so you can't really look for a fight here on the side of Miracle. And taking the Bruiser camp might have been taken them a bit closer to that objective.
So let's see, as a team fight is about to break off very soon. The bottom web weaver, it takes a long time, so instead, okay, hold on to the H82 dives in. There's a sanctification just whiffs on Judy himself alone.
Johanna was very far away, but she is not now.
And once that Blessed Shield lands on target, and they will be focus firing, Judy barely survives. That was a close call for Miracle.
I can't believe everyone got there out of there alive, especially without even having to use Divine Palm. So that's definitely a huge win from MVP Miracle. They didn't exactly kill any hero on the side of Tempest or anything, but absolutely huge moment for a Miracle, as that alone allows them to catch up massively in experience.
That's exactly what they have to do. They have to soak in 420, and meanwhile the Weaver was pushing the max out of the bot lane, and soon when they win a team fight they can just straight go into the bot lane, try to take the keep or even the core once they have a entire team wipe. I think that's still a very good possibility that Miracle has right now. Well, this what Weaver push will be insanely strong though.
This will be the moment. If MVP Miracle managed to take 20 without suffering too much, then they will actually be ahead in all counts. Both in the team fight, in rotations, everything, simply because Lunara scales that hard. And they will get access to Twilight Archon as well. That will be absolutely huge in any team fights that happen after the level 20 mark.
Keep down. Do they back out here? As Crazy Movement hooks in sign, says thank you almost. Okay, Tempest is actually giving some time, giving some room, making a big rotation to top. They want to take all the keeps down and giving some time to Miracle to actually soak in for 20 instead of going for core. Maybe they thought it was a risky decision.
Something to think about is that the bottom wave will be huge by the time it arrives at the MVP Miracle core, simply because it started at the doorsteps of Tempest's base itself. So they might want to turn around slowly, make the rotation, and head down to the core right about at this moment, and MVP Miracle know that.
Ping! Focus Morales is what Jaehyun is saying, but he's the only one for the moment.
They didn't play Bronze Hero League enough.
Oh, see, 20's reached. Just going to disengage. That bottom push is real, and will do some damage, but not too much. And meanwhile, of course, Tempest will be going for the boss.
Going for the boss.
Miracle does realize Judy's already on point.
I'm not too convinced that you want to do that against a Stitches and Tyrael, and wisely they decide to back off. not the brightest thing to do when you have 2 keeps down on your side.
Of course, you don't need to risk too much when you're winning in macro wars. You're automatically winning the macro wars even if you don't take the boss. So Tempest playing smart here, going for their own camp. They don't have to take this too quickly. Slowly, one by one, together. I think that's what they're trying to do. Sign is there just to spot, just in case Miracle does a secret boss.
I would prefer that Tempest also take the 6 o'clock camp, but they decide not to.
I think both teams are very aware that the top boss, especially for Miracle, if Tempest takes it, it may just be game over. When Tempest still has 2 forts standing up there.
Something also to think about is that MVP Miracle are closing into their next turn in gem count. And if they gain access to that, then MVP Miracle will have some reason to be proactive and have some leverage of pressure on Tempest. So that will also be a slight turning point there, which is why I do want Tempest to start making a move on that 6 o'clock siege camp, which they seem to be doing right now. This is not the worst time to do it, not the best time to do it. The best time to do it would have been a few seconds ago.
Yes,
a few dozen seconds ago.
But if they focus too much here, they will get turned in. And once Miracle actually turns in, and enough for the Wet Weavers,
they will have a lot more.
Yeah, they will have a lot more pressure in all lanes. That actually Miracle may have chance to access the boss and take the boss. Ooh, it's very risky. So Miracle does not go all the way in.
I feel that Tempest could have been much more decisive about these rotations. But so could have Miracles. So both of them, they're playing for a lot. There's a lot on the line here, so I can't blame them for being a bit more careful about what they do.
Tense moment. This fight would... For Tempest, if they have a team wipe, of course it will be GG. But Miracle, if they have a full team wipe, they may actually be... If they don't use Sing, and here comes H82 diving in onto Crazy Moving. Focuses onto Stitches. Sanctification does not go up. It is cancelled. And seems like the team fight is already over. They're onto the chase. Tempest is making the way in. Lockdown stim drones doing tons of damage.
This is going to be an easy boss, isn't it?
Maybe
they could also immediately to the core, so this really depends on what Tempest wants to do.
Maybe they thought Sank was just enough for the protection, as a protection to save Crazy Moving, but the palm was not even there.
You can't afford to miss those palms at this point of the game, so unfortunate mechanical mishap happening right there.
And seems like we're going to game number 2 very soon, as this core will be going down when you have Morales. The healing will come in. Sign is very low. It still has an indestructible. There's a sanctification now, but
the
I
core
believe
is
that's
too low.
Way too late. Core is going down 36 and 20, and that will be close to game. And Tempest takes game number 1. That was not the easiest game for both sides.
That loss has to sting really for a Miracle, because despite having a very bad draft, let's just say it outright, before they hit the level 16 mark, they managed to make it to level 16 and start going toe-to-toe in these team fights. They finally were at a point where their composition was as scary as Tempest's. But then, after soldiering on so well for such a long game until the very late game, then especially after Tempest sort of messed up, they wasted both of their camps, right? They had the Bruiser camp, they had the Siege camp, but they didn't really make rotations crisp enough to abuse that and go for the boss. So Miracle was doing everything right despite having not the best early game, not the best early game draft, but then one missed palm seals the deal for Tempest. Just like that, they suddenly lose the game.
I think if the palm connected maybe just 2 more times,
yeah.
I think they have a lot more room to come back, because their team fighting was not lost entirely because of that first kill, not just because of the palm, but if that palm connected a few more times, I think they could have turned things around, especially if Stitches was getting focused so many times, because Stitches, of course, does not have an escape, And if you waste a sync instead of when you're trying to dive in to do more damage because of that switches every single time, and then you cannot win a team fight. It makes it a lot harder. And Tempest, I think they made the right pressure onto right target. So what's picking Stitches and also Kerosene, I think they were really out, not really synchronized together. And of course, we keep on talking about the draft because I think they were not really the best pair, I would say, going into Spider Queens.
But talking about the draft, we also have to sort of praise Tempest for taking on Morales so early in the draft and showing how exactly to use her. And perhaps things would have been different had Miracle went with another combination of heroes in their last rotation. But in this game, the combination of Uthre and Medic seemed very good.
That's right. Lesson learned from game number 1, guys. Focus Morales was the answer. Okay?